Thank you so much. It is truly an honor to be here. Let me begin by thanking my friend, Dr. Adelson, not only for her beautiful introduction, but for her extraordinary example to all of us fighting for America, the Jewish people, and for Israel. You are, in every sense, a true Maccabee warrior. Her life's work, from healing patients as a doctor to supporting life-saving medical research, to her unwavering philanthropy and fearless advocacy, it has changed lives and strengthened the Jewish people across the globe. She has never wavered in the defense of Israel, nor in her belief in the moral clarity of America's friendship with the Jewish homeland. She continues to inspire us all because of this selfless work on behalf of America and of Israel. I'm honored for her encouragement and her support and her kind words as I launch my campaign for governor of New York State to save New York. And thank you so much to my good friend, Dr. Ben. It's so fitting that I'm receiving this award from you. My strong relationship with you and NORPAC goes back over a decade to my first campaign for Congress when you took a chance on me when so few believed. You have been dear friends of mine ever since. You and NORPAC are admired and respected throughout the country because of your sincerity and your steadfastness in helping and supporting so many of us in the fight. It is humbling to receive this award from ZOA, which has stood for over a century as one of the great pillars of Jewish advocacy, Jewish identity, and Jewish strength. I want to especially thank Mort, who has been a fearless leader standing up for Zionist principles and the Jewish homeland in the face of any and all challenges. Thank you, Mort. We are here at a time about 6 weeks away from Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, which makes tonight's honor especially meaningful. Hanukkah, after all, is the story of a people who refused to surrender, a small band of freedom fighters who took a stand for their faith, their homeland, and their future. The Maccabees proved that courage, faith, and conviction can defeat tyranny and darkness. And I want to take a minute to remember two very important modern-day Maccabees, heroes of New York and of the Jewish people who are on our hearts and on our minds, Omer Nutra and Ite Chen. Omer and Ite were both murdered by Hamas on October 7th, and their bodies were taken hostage into Gaza. Many of us got to know their families and the families of both the living hostages and the hostages who were deceased. And we held our breaths for 2 years waiting for their return. Because of the tireless efforts of President Trump and his administration, these hostages were finally returned home. Omer and Ite were laid to rest this past week, and I continue to pray, we continue to pray, for the few remaining hostages to be returned to Israel and their families. When I look out across this room, I see an entire gathering of modern-day Maccabees. After all, the ZOA, at its heart, an organization of Maccabees, of proud, unapologetic defenders of the Jewish people and the Jewish state. That example is exemplified by Mort and by board members like Dr. Ben and, of course, Dr. Adelson. And it is exemplified by tonight's other honorees, all of my good friends, including the Trats, Ambassador Leiter, Irit, who's a dear friend, Ambassador Leiter, whom I met in Jerusalem, my friend Ambassador Danan, who stands up for Israel in the literal lion's den at the UN, and also by my good friend Leo Terrell. Every single one of these leaders has stood on the front lines, whether in public service, in education, in philanthropy, or in activism, standing up for the truth, the Jewish people, and for the values that bind our two nations together. Being a warrior, as the Maccabees were, does not just require courage or strength, it requires vision, the foresight to understand where the next battlefield lies. For years, my service in Congress, where I have fought tirelessly to combat anti-Semitism and strengthen the U.S.-Israel alliance. I am proud to be one of the foremost champions of the Jewish people in the United States Congress, ensuring Israel's right to defend itself and fiercely opposing efforts by some of my colleagues to undermine it. I have stood shoulder to shoulder with the American Jewish community and the people of Israel through war, terror, and tragedy. But a few years ago, I realized that there was another front in this battle, a battlefield that we are losing, and one much closer to home. University campuses where we saw a scourge and skyrocketing of anti-Semitism after Hamas's terrorist attacks on October 7th. I will never forget that hearing. Did you all see that hearing? And it was a simple question, and it was a question I did not prepare, and I asked it expecting them to say yes. It was not a political question, it was a moral one, and I asked it to the presidents of Harvard, MIT, and Penn, and that question was this: does calling for the genocide of Jews violate your university's code of conduct? I expected them to say yes, but one after the other said, quote, "It depends on the context," and the world heard. Let me tell you, it does not depend on the context. It set off a global reckoning and delivered accountability in higher education that is still just beginning. This seminal moment revealed a moral and academic rot at the heart of our most elite institutions, a rot that fuels anti-Semitism while pretending to champion inclusion. And because of that hearing and subsequent ones, many cowardly university presidents were forced to resign, and we have so many to go. And that was only the beginning. This work is ongoing, and we are exposing the truth about how anti-Semitism has been normalized and institutionalized in American higher education. We will not stop until accountability is real and until every Jewish student in this country can walk across campus without fear. That fight continues. And as I look around my beloved home state, I know there is another battlefield that now demands our and my focus, the one closest to home right here in the state of New York. That is why I am running for governor of New York. Because today, New York is not just a city and state in crisis, it is the epicenter of the battle for the very Western values that have shaped America. The fight for democracy, for capitalism, for the dignity of work, for the belief that through effort and perseverance, anyone can achieve the American dream. That fight now runs straight through our streets, our schools, and straight to City Hall. These are the values that made the United States the greatest force for freedom in human history. And they are the very values that are now under attack. We know that we are at a tipping point when the most important city in the world elects an anti-Semite, defund the police, tax-hiking communist as mayor, a mayor who openly traffics in sympathy for those who chant "globalize the Intifada," a mayor who refuses to condemn the glorification of terror, who has said that he would arrest Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, whose family history and political ideology is steeped in sympathy for suicide bombers and terrorists, a mayor who said Hamas should not lay down their arms, a mayor who campaigned with the unindicted co-conspirator of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing that killed New Yorkers. This from the person who will lead a city with over 1 million Jewish people. And this mayor was endorsed by none other than the weakest and worst governor in America, Kathy Hochul. And unlike the weak Kathy Hochul, when dangerous anti-Semitic figures like Mamdani and members of the Socialists spew hatred towards the Jewish people and justify terror, I will not stay silent. I will call it what it is: anti-Semitism, bigotry, Jew hatred, and anti-Americanism. And at this very moment, when New Yorkers were looking for strength and moral clarity, our weak governor, Kathy Hochul, endorsed this jihadist for mayor. She propelled him to this office, putting every Jewish New Yorker at risk. The truth is, she threw New Yorkers of this great city under the bus, all because of her abysmal polling. And New Yorkers in this city and across our great state will never, ever forget it. This battle in New York is not just about values, it's about the daily reality of life in this city and state. a dark reality shaped by rising costs and crimes and unsafe streets and subways, anti-Semitism skyrocketing, swastikas being drawn on yeshivas, by crushing costs, unaffordable housing, and failing schools. We pay the highest taxes in the nation with a city in decay that is unaffordable, unlivable, and unsafe. We've had 2 decades of single-party Democrat rule, and the results are an absolute failure. As a wife and a mother, I see it. As a New Yorker, I live it. And as your next governor, I will fix it. We will make New York affordable by championing policies that can actually make it happen, removing barriers to housing so we can build more of it, the only way to fix our housing crisis. We will unleash energy independence to lower the cost of energy and utility bills. We will bring fiscal sanity to Albany, and we will cut taxes. But this fight is not just an economic fight. This is a moral one. And this is particularly important in New York, the beloved home to more Jews than anywhere outside of Israel, where anti-Semitic incidents hit an all-time high last year, the highest count in the nation. It is no coincidence that the morning after Mamdani was elected, a swastika was painted outside a yeshiva in Brooklyn. That is what Kathy Hochul's New York looks like. New Yorkers deserve a leader who will stand up unequivocally and say, "Not on my watch." Hochul hasn't just allowed this downward spiral. Hochul has blessed it, signed it, embraced it, and endorsed it. When Jewish New Yorkers needed Kathy Hochul's leadership the most, she bent the knee to Kami Mamdani and allowed the full-blown takeover of the Democrat Party by the anti-Semitic socialists. And New Yorkers, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, we deserve so much better. My friends, the story of the Maccabees is not ancient history. It is a call to every generation to stand up when others shrink back, to speak truth when others stay silent, and to keep faith when the odds seem impossible. That is the spirit I see in this room tonight. That is the spirit of Jewish New Yorkers and Jewish Americans. That is the spirit that must and will save New York. So let's get this done. Let's stand up for courage, the light, the truth, and let's save New York State. Thank you. God bless you. God bless New York. God bless the United States of America. Honored to be here. Thank you.